Rarity was in a state of near panic as she rushed about her workroom, attempting to fill a large order she had completely forgotten about until 2 days before the deadline. Opalescence was curled up upon the head of one of the mannequins, lazily watching Rarity go about her business. "Oh, where did I put that ribbon? Where are my needles? This is imperial purple. I need heliotrope." After watching the unicorn freak out for a little longer, and enjoying it more than she would admit, the cat hopped off the mannequin. She dodged her frantic owner and began to scratch on the door. Rarity continued to work, and Opal responded with scratches that peeled the paint off and a hiss that would wake the dead. "Just a minute, Opal. Mama's very busy." Opalescence rolled her eyes. She would have to get out soon or she'll miss a deadline of her own. Missed deadlines was never good for business. The next time Rarity got up from her sewing machine, she quickly ran over to the door and cracked it open to give the fat feline just enough room to squeeze out. The cat walked downstairs and into the shop area of the boutique, where Sweetie Belle was busy coloring. "I'm a cutie mark colorer." Opal held her head high and tried her best to ignore the horrid lyrics as she walked past the tiny pony. Sweetie noticed the cat and waved. "Hi, Opal." Normally, when Sweetie Belle talked to her, Opalescence would either hiss or swipe at the shrill creature. However, this was one of the very few instances where the annoying music box would come in handy. Opal put on her best fake smile as she walked up to Sweetie Belle and began to rub up against her, purring. "Aw, good kitty," Sweetie cooed, petting her. Now that Opal had her attention, she left Sweetie Belle's maddeningly uneven strokes by stretching and waddling into the kitchen with pompous purpose. Sweetie Belle liked the pet's sudden friendliness and followed the cat in hopes that she would let her stroke her fur even more, just as planned. When she made it to the back door of the kitchen, Opal made sure the filly was behind her and began to scratch the door. "Oh, you want out?" Opal sighed and nodded. Sweetie Belle looked up at the doorknob. I don't think I can reach that." Opal blew a raspberry at Sweetie Belle. Okay, just hold on." The filly looked around the kitchen for something to jump on. She settled on pulling out a few utensil drawers to make a staircase to the top of the counter. From there, she jumped and grabbed the doorknob. She turned it, and the door slowly slid open. Opal walked out in a huff, leaving Sweetie hanging. The cat immediately made her way to the tree she had told Tank about and climbed inside the knothole. Beneath her paws were millions of bits worth of artifacts and jewels. She already had quite a few less than upstanding citizens willing to pay a hefty sum for even one of them. A transaction was scheduled for that afternoon, and she had to hurry if she was to make it before the buyer. She carefully sorted through the stolen items before locating the one she needed, an ivory necklace dating back before the pre-banishment era. She picked it up with her mouth and leaped out of the tree, speeding towards the direction of the evergreen forest. Filthy Rich felt, well, filthy. Sure, he was a ruthless business pony, but he was a law-abiding business pony. Usually. Still, he couldn't ignore his daughter's demands when she brought home a history book and pointed towards an ancient necklace as the gift she wanted for her birthday. Her words still pierced his skull. "I want it!" As much as Filthy Rich hated being called by his first name, even he had to admit there was probably a reason why ponies did it. He hadn't bought his way to the top without ripping up a few dresses or making friends with some shady characters. Once again, the thugs and sharks he depended upon so much had come through and let him know that a very certain item he was looking for had just appeared on the market. Only problem was, the sellers were the Syndicate. They only communicated by courier birds, and no pony he knew had even seen an actual member of the criminal empire. Filthy shuffled around his coat pocket to check the piece of paper he had received with the instructions. He didn't much care looking at it, since it showed up in his house, on his bed, when he got home from work. How did they even get in? The edge of the everfree forest on the west road between the two oaks. Come alone. He didn't know what to expect. Was he going to be mugged? Was the necklace even there? Would he be kidnapped and held for ransom? No, he said to reassure himself. He knew the Syndicate's reputation. They always came through on a deal. Likewise, cheating them on a deal was completely out of the question. The last pony that angered them was found in an alleyway, half insane, half covered in saliva and scorch marks. As the wild floor of the Everfree rolled into view, Filthy Rich began to have second thoughts. Said second thoughts were instantly buried when he realized that this trade was much, much more preferable than going home and facing his daughter's temper tantrums. Walking between the two oaks, he found an obviously placed small mound of dirt. He scratched at it and soon unearthed a necklace, covered in dirt, but otherwise in perfect condition. He made sure he wasn't followed. With no police ponies or private investigators in sight, he dropped a very heavy sack of bits where the necklace had been and ran off with his new possession. Opal idly watched him retreat back into town. She regretted not bringing a camera to blackmail him for the transaction, but what was done was done. A few more minutes of waiting prompted her to lazily slither down the tree and claw where Filthy Rich had dropped his payment. She prodded the sack a few times. The payment secured, Opal withdrew several coins with her mouth. She moved to the back of the oak tree opposite of her and tossed the take onto a pile hidden in a small opening beneath the roots. The cat returned to the dead drop and noted the sum. It was still much too soon for the bookie to show up. Opal did not want to suffer another minute with that bothersome creature rarely called her sister to kill time, and instead opted to nap in the tree until he arrived. Whoo! Opal's large eyes creaked open. Owlicious was perched on the same branch as her. He had probably been watching her for the past few minutes. The weirdo. Whoo! She sighed and pointed towards the mound where she had reburied the gold. The owl flew down and kicked off the dirt with his talons to reveal the sack and snapped it into his beak. He lifted off with surprising strength and was soon just a floating shadow against the night sky. Opal stretched and climbed down the tree, eager to get back to Rarity's home. With just a few more coins, she could afford that crystal lace ball of yarn she had seen in Capsula.